Facing the siege of dozens of powerful men from the god realm, Jason waved a formation diagram directly from his hand and wrapped everyone present in it. A chaotic energy dispersed, and in an instant, the whole world fell into a haze. Nothing could be seen, only endless coercion dispersed, covering everyone's body. At this moment, at the end of everyone's sight in this world, there is a vast expanse. It is impossible to distinguish between east, west, north, and even up and down. What's going on? Bispham and others were trapped in the formation. They were all frightened. They didn't understand what was happening and looked around warily. No one is worried. But just when they were panicking, a calm voice suddenly sounded, and at the same time, Jason's majestic figure suddenly appeared in front of the 5 masters of Bispham Tower. Jason, what happened? Are we here now? Each of the 5 people in Bispham had doubts on their faces. Don't worry, everyone, this is the divine destruction formation I got from Tion High Continent. As long as everyone stays here and doesn't move anything, there won't be any harm. Jason said with a smile. God's destruction formation? The 5 people from Bispham looked at each other in confusion. Among the 5 people present, Bispham, Lanuigusan, and Cassinus were all elixir masters. In terms of formation patterns, naturally, they have certain attainments, but what kind of divine annihilation array Jason has set up now, with their attainments, it is difficult to even see a corner of the formation. It can be seen that this divine annihilation array has gone far beyond their perceptions and levels. When did Jason become so accomplished in formations? Cassinus and others were a little confused. They found that as they spent more time with Jason, their understanding of Jason did not get better. The more they come, the more unclear they become. On long. A huge roar came from the hazy void, and the terrifying aura caused the 5 masters of Bispham Tower to change their colors. It seems that among these guys, there are also people who know the formation and want to break it. Jason suddenly turned around and felt the changes in the depths of the formation. Instead of feeling scared, his eyes showed interest. The expression on Xingfan's face turned bright. Alright, Master Bispham Tower, Lanuigusan, you can stay here with peace of mind. Our office wants to see how they can break my formation. Jason ordered and stepped forward with his right foot. He stepped out and disappeared into the void. Although his attainments in formations are high, after all, Jason has only been comprehending these years. He is pressed for time and has never experienced actual combat. Now, to have such a group of strong people test formations for him, for Jason, it couldn't be better. The study of formations is not just about working hard. It requires a combination of theory and practice to truly master the secrets of formations. Today, Jason, 10 years of hard training has made him master the formations. In terms of magic, it has reached the peak of the 4th level formation. The only thing lacking is the practice of formation. In a certain bamboo deep in the divine destruction formation, dozens of strong men from the god realm were leaning closely together at this moment. Boom! The formation was in motion, and streams of chaotic aura circulated, suddenly bursting with murderous intent. Dozens of chaotic auras were like lightning, rushing directly towards everyone. Pfft! These dozens of chaotic auras were extremely terrifying, washing across the heaven and earth, leaving people unable to hide. But just when these chaotic auras were about to hit this powerful man in the god realm, a black light suddenly emerged from here. A group of powerful men from the heavenly god realm rushed out and collided with the dozens of chaotic auras. Pfft! It was like the collision of water and fire. After the collision, the 2 completely different auras were both annihilated and disappeared into the void. Only a strong wave of divine power was transmitted. 3 adults, please rest assured. Although this formation is powerful and has extremely strong attack power, I have carefully distinguished it. This killing formation is just a 1st level formation. As long as you give it some time to break this formation, it is not a difficult task. A voice sounded from beside the 3 high-ranking spiritual gods. It was Brady, one of the two middle-ranking spiritual gods of Bloxham, who broke the seal of the spiritual medicine master tower. This Brady is the only one among the people who has reached the second level of formation in terms of formation. In the world of gods, formation is an extremely advanced field, and the status of the formation master is also extremely noble, but most of the Marae masters are just ordinary first-level formation masters, and many more have not even reached the first-level formation master. As a second-level formation master, Brady is already extremely good. In Brady's hand, a black roulette wheel kept spinning. His eyes were as solid as lightning. He kept observing the surroundings, and released unique divine powers one after another, trying to find flaws in this formation. To break the formation. Under Brady's constant observation, he actually found some patterns, constantly avoiding the murderous intentions of the Kaishan destruction formation, and gradually approaching the core of the formation. Sure enough. In the formation diagram, Jason looked at Brady, who was walking carefully in the formation diagram, avoiding the killing spots, and couldn't help but reveal a faint smile on his lips. The God's Destruction formation was just a first-grade killing formation that he had obtained in the God's Destruction Valley in the Tianhai continent. At that time, the God's Destruction formation was just a remnant of the formation. It was later repaired and completed by Jason, but no matter what, it could never be changed. The fact that this divine destruction formation is a first-grade killing formation, with the strength of Brady's second-grade formation mage, it is not impossible to break it after all. Jason, who was trapped by the god-destroying formation, had just come into contact with the god-level formation. Under the inheritance of the god of war of Tianhai, he easily broke through the god-destroying formation. Brady could find the pattern, and it was not something impossible. Since the first-level formation can't trap you, then I'll let you try this formation of mine. Jason looked at Brady and others who were walking carefully in the formation diagram calmly, waved his hand, and in an instant, countless lights of light flew out from his hands and landed on various points of the entire formation. Hey! The atmosphere in the entire god-destroying formation suddenly changed. Under Jason's transformation, it became even more bizarre and unpredictable. This is the way to survive. In the god-destroying formation, at this moment Brady was leading a group of people. A large group of powerful men from the god realm walked towards the center of the formation to work. Brady, it's been so long, how long do you have until you can break through this formation? One of the three high-ranking spiritual gods frowned. Come on, the center of this formation is watching. Brady answered cautiously, taking a step forward at the same time. Boom! As he took a step forward, the wind and clouds changed. The originally peaceful formation was violently violent, as if it had touched a certain restriction. Chaos-killing formation circulated with overwhelming attacks, like rain of fire falling from the sky, crashing down on those present. Everyone. Countless powerful attacks with murderous intent rushed towards them, and the terrifying pressure shocked the 9 heavens and 10 earths, shocking a group of people from the god realm. Ah! No! Help! Powerful attacks fell from the sky, and screams echoed throughout the space. Brady, is this what you said is safe? Break the formation immediately? When the 3 high-level spiritual gods saw this scene, they were furious and each exploded with unparalleled combat power. Boom! Deafening roars resounded through and dazzling lights bloomed. Brady, who was walking at the front, was completely stunned. This what? No, in my calculations, this place is this is the center of this formation, the key place to crack this formation. Why Brady was completely confused. The sounds of strenuous resistance came, explosions, and howls of pain passed through the hazy formation one after another. In the law, the void was constantly changing, and auras containing terrifying murderous intent filled the entire void into chaos. Gradually, all the sounds calmed down, and the entire formation was in a mess. There were originally dozens of powerful people from the god realm. In this open space, after the attack stopped, only the 3 upper-level spiritual gods and 8 middle-level spiritual gods, including Brady, were left. As for the remaining dozens of lower-level spiritual gods, they had all died. Even the 8 middle-level spiritual gods were scarred and miserable, with only half their lives left. The only ones who still had fighting power were the 3 upper-level spiritual gods. At this moment, they were looking at each other angrily. Holding Brady, the big red man among them quickly got in front of Brady and lifted him up. "Brady, you said you can break through this formation. It's absolutely safe to follow you. But now? Where did you take us?" The big red man spoke angrily. Brady trembled, but couldn't say a word. "Humph." The big red man threw Brady to the ground hard, his eyes were as wide as copper bells, and a fiery red battle axe suddenly appeared in his hand. "Bruno, Adcock, this Jason is the middle spirit. God, I don't believe that the formation he arranged can trap us 3 high-level spiritual gods." After the words fell, the fiery red battle axe in the hand of the big red man was struck directly, and a roar sounded, and the entire formation trembled. The big man shouted loudly, and swung the battle axe quickly, and the void continued to tremble. "We also take action." The remaining 2 high-level spiritual gods looked at each other and took action fiercely, in addition to using profound knowledge of formations to break through according to the structure of the formation diagram. If they have strong strength, they can also rely on absolute strength. With his strength, he broke the formation. For a moment, the entire formation shook continuously, as if it might collapse at any time. Jason looked at the 3 high-ranking spiritual gods in the formation, who were constantly taking action, with a faint smile on his lips. At the same time, he waved his hands repeatedly, and rays of light quickly swept out, arranging the next formation pattern. If when Jason had just set up the god-destroying formation, those 3 high-ranking spiritual gods could risk everything and attack with all their strength along with dozens of subordinates, perhaps they could break through the formation at once. Now after such a long time, Jason himself, the original divine destruction formation, has been upgraded from a 1st-level formation to a state close to a 4th-level formation. With the strength of the 3 of them, they can no longer break the formation with brute force. Finally, they are all trapped. 3 of them, the upper spiritual gods and the 8 middle spiritual gods, are a powerful force. It is time to conquer them. After thoroughly arranging the formation, Jason stopped his hands, swayed, disappeared into the formation, and started his big plan. In the large formation arranged by Jason, pung, 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 huge bombardments continued to resound. Adcock's 3 high-ranking spiritual gods tried their best to attack, bombarding the entire formation. Shake, tremble. Damn it. Looking at the formation that was constantly shaking, destroyed but quickly healed and repaired, the 4 Adcocks finally stopped after attacking for a long time. The 3 of them had frustration and anger on their faces, and even in the deepest part, there was a hint of fear and panic. Isn't this Jason just a small mid-level spiritual god? How come the formation he arranged is so powerful? The 3 Adcocks are high-level spiritual gods with extremely strong attack power, and in the world of gods, they also have a not weak position, and naturally have extensive knowledge. They have seen many god-level formations, but they have never seen them like the formation that Jason trapped them now, allowing them to attack no matter how they attack. A formation that never fails. With the strength of their superior spiritual gods, the 3 of them joined forces. The ordinary 2nd-grade formation could not last long. Even the 3rd-grade formation would reveal many flaws. However, the formation set up by Jason could not be controlled by them no matter what. No matter how they attacked, the surroundings were completely white, with no way out in sight, which made the 3 of them panic. "Brady, as a formation master, tell me quickly, what level does the formation set up by Jason belong to? How can it be broken?" Finally, Adcock and the other 2 turned their attention to it. On the side was Brady, who was also a little dumbfounded. "Sir," at this moment, Brady looked extremely nervous and said tremblingly, based on the previous actions of the three adults, if the formation that traps us is at least a third-grade formation, it is even possible that it has reached the level of fourth-level formation. As soon as Brady said these words, Adcock and the other three were stunned. Fourth-level formation, this is impossible. Banyan, the big red man with a bad temper, roared even more irritably. In the God realm, as long as you reach the third level of formation, you can be called a formation master, and if you have a fourth-level formation, you can be called a grandmaster. Such a person can become the guest of all major forces even in the God realm. Guests are extremely rare, have illustrious names, and each one has unpredictable strength. They are not something Banyan and the others can offend. And now that Jason is a mid-level spiritual god, how can he be a fourth-level formation master who is extremely rare in the world of gods? The three Banyans couldn't believe it in their hearts, but even though they had disbelief on their faces and even roared in their mouths, the feeling of powerlessness they had felt in the formation made them feel deep in their hearts about this. There was a hint of doubt and conviction. As for the remaining 8 middle spirit gods, including Brady, their expressions were a little numb. Regardless of whether Jason was a third-level formation master or a fourth-level formation master, they were not able to resist them at all. Only the previous a single attack from the formation wiped out all the lower spiritual gods, leaving them as the middle spiritual gods seriously injured. In this formation, they had completely lost their confidence. Buzz. Just when everyone was shocked, a unique wave of divine power suddenly came. The remaining 11 strong men in the formation suddenly felt that the scenery in front of them changed. Immediately, they were horrified. Suddenly, he discovered that everyone who was around him had disappeared, and everyone came to an independent space. What appeared in front of Brady was a barren desert. This is a fantasy formation? Brady's expression was a little nervous. Before, they were fighting in the secret realm of the Medicine Master Tower. Later, they fell into Jason's formation. Now, they suddenly appeared. In the desert, Brady, who is a second-level array mage, immediately understood that he should be in a certain illusion array now. General phantom formations don't pose much danger. As long as you find the eye of the formation, you can break through the phantom formation. But where is the eye of this phantom formation? Brady looked around nervously. Haha, welcome to my Jason's fantasy array. A hearty voice sounded. Huh? Brady's expression changed, and he looked carefully at where the sound was coming from. Just when Brady was vigilant, pung! A 5-color rainbow suddenly appeared from more than 10 meters away. The 5-color rainbow appeared so suddenly and extremely fast. When Brady discovered it, he had time to take out the black roulette in his hand and put it in front of him. Bang! A dull roar sounded, and Brady was thrown directly away. With the strength of his mid-level spiritual god, how could he block Jason's attack? Ah! Blood spattered from Brady's mouth, and Brady roared in pain. At the same time, his whole body concentrated his strength and was alert to where the attack was coming. I saw the brilliant 5-color rainbow filling the entire field of vision again. Brady had no power to resist. Countless 5-color rainbows continuously bombarded Brady's body, causing him to vomit blood, and even his soul was severely injured and trembling. However, it was just right and did not kill Brady. At this moment, a young man wearing a gray robe appeared. It was Jason. But at this moment, Brady had no strength to resist at all. Blue light bloomed between Jason's eyebrows, his left hand was stretched out, and a blue pagoda appeared in the void. I saw the blue pagoda flying out, rising in the wind, and suddenly became taller. From the bottom of the tower, a blue light was projected, shining directly on Brady. Brady, who was originally seriously injured, only felt after a moment of drowsiness, his whole body quickly shrank and was sucked into the God of War Tower. If it were in a normal state, it would be impossible for the God of War Tower to absorb Brady so easily. However, Brady had been seriously injured before. In addition, he was attacked by the soul of the God of War Tower, and he was already in a state of confusion. Facing the swallowing of the God of War Tower, there is no power to resist at all. he was sucked directly into the God of War Tower. As soon as he entered the God of War Tower, Brady was completely awake. In front of him was a desolate land, and a powerful invisible aura oppressed him at all times and enveloped his body. Where is this? Brady was surprised. Whoa! At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Brady. It was Jason. What do you want to do? Brady shouted in a stern voice. What do you want to do? Jason smiled lightly and pointed directly from a distance. Seal of life and death, condense. Hi. A strange rune suddenly appeared in the void, flew out from Jason's fingertips, and flew directly towards Brady. Brady wanted to dodge, but in the space of the God of War Tower he couldn't move at all under the pressure, and the strange rune sank directly into his chest. Jason did not directly use the large formation in the formation map before to kill Brady and other mid-level spiritual gods and high-level spiritual gods. The purpose was to enslave these strong men. Today's stern continent is full of crises. Lan Yu Gusen and the others have not fully grown up, and Jason cannot protect everyone all the time. If these powerful men from the God realm can be enslaved, then the protective power of stern continent it will be much larger. Moreover, there will be a war between stern continent and the God realm sooner or later. As long as these people become their soul slaves, as slaves, they absolutely surrender to Jason from the depths of their souls, and are even willing to die for Jason. At that time, for the God realm, Jason can also understand a lot about the situation. No matter which way you look at it, enslaving these powerful men will be beneficial to you. The method of enslavement that Jason possesses is exactly what Jason saw in the many secret methods that Jason obtained from the East Pole god King Stern. Jason was quite curious about this method of enslavement. So many years ago, it means that I have already practiced it, but I have never put it into practice. Chi-chi. The strange rune in Brady's body quickly came to the place of his soul and merged with his soul. As a mid-level spiritual god, Brady's soul instinctively resisted the outside world invasion, but under this seal of life and death, there was no resistance. It was broken through and the soul was completely integrated with it. Brady's originally struggling expression immediately calmed down and looked at Jason in front of him. Master. Brady said respectfully, with complete surrender in his eyes. At the same time, Jason also felt the connection between his soul and Brady. He could feel that as long as he was willing, a thought of his could make Brady in front of him lose his soul and completely perish. This is the first one, and there will be 10 more. Looking at Brady, Jason smiled slightly and disappeared directly into the God of War space. In the illusory formation set up by Jason, many of the scattered mid-level spiritual gods were advancing cautiously, trying to break the formation. In the illusion formation, a middle spiritual god carefully observed the surroundings, with dense sweat dripping from his forehead. Tisk. A 5-color divine rainbow suddenly appeared from the void next to him and struck him, seriously injuring his body instantly. The middle spiritual god howled in pain. Fortunately, Jason showed mercy, otherwise the middle spiritual god would have died directly. Jason suddenly appeared next to him, holding the God of War Tower with one hand. A blue light was projected from the bottom of the God of War Tower, locking onto the seriously injured middle spiritual god. The middle spirit god was seriously injured and was easily sucked into it. In the God of War Tower, Jason used the seal of life and death again. Under the pressure of the God of War Tower, the middle spiritual god had no power to resist at all. The seal of life and death directly merged with the soul of the seriously injured middle spiritual god, completely controlling his soul. Hands. The second one. Jason smiled slightly and disappeared into the God of War Tower again. Under Jason's attack, in just a few moments, the 8 median spiritual gods were enslaved by Jason and became his slaves. Under Jason's strong attack, in just a few moments, the 8 middle spirit gods were all enslaved by Jason and became his slaves. Next, there are the last 3 high-level spiritual gods. Jason said silently in his heart, and then disappeared in the God of War tower. Time passed, and in the illusory array arranged by Jason, the high-ranking spiritual god Adcock kept escaping in the illusory array in embarrassment. Damn it, how could Jason's formation skills be so strong? My superior power can't detect the flaw in the formation at all. It's really damning. Adcock looked around, with a hint of anxiety on his face. In front of him was a boundless swamp. Adcock knew that this swamp was simply an illusion created by Jason, but he knew that he wanted to break it, but Adcock couldn't find a way for a while. I don't believe that I, Adcock, who has been in the world of gods for so many years, will fall into the formation arranged by this small mid-level spiritual god. A sharp aura flashed across Adcock's body. This illusion array can only trap me at most. As long as you give me enough time and explore every inch, I will be able to rush out sooner or later. Even if I can't escape, I am not Bloxam. Then Jason wants to kill me. It's impossible. Adcock was very confident. When the time comes, when Master Sergeant Sun comes out of the Spirit Beast mountain range, Jason will undoubtedly die. A sneer appeared on Adcock's face, while he continued to be vigilant. Forward. However, even though he said he was extremely confident, there was always a hint of uncertainty in his heart. That is Jason, who is able to kill Bloxam and has such a profound knowledge of formations, really helpless against him? Haha. At this moment, a voice of laughter suddenly sounded in Adcock's ears. Huh? Adcock's eyes suddenly burst into light, and he raised the long sword in his hand, extremely vigilant, and at the same time, he paid careful attention to his surroundings. Huh? A figure appeared in front of Adcock very suddenly. Such a strange appearance made Adcock startled. At the same time, the black heavy sword in Jason's hand had already been chopped down. Humph, if you didn't show up, I wouldn't have been able to do anything to you. Now you dare to show up in front of me. I might as well kill you so that I can break through this illusory formation. Adcock thought to himself, the superior spiritual god's power spread out, covering Jason, and at the same time, the long sword in his hand stabbed Jason directly. Tisk. A crack suddenly appeared in the void. This black crack, like lightning, came directly in front of Jason. Do you think you can kill me by trapping me with the illusion array? You are really stupid, just die. Adcock screamed in his heart. In the phantom formation, black cracks directly hit Jason. Tear. As if the cloth was torn apart, Jason's whole body was split in half with a sword, and then the whole body slowly dissipated. Adcock slashed Jason away with a sword, but there was no joy on his face. Instead, he suddenly changed because he found that Jason, whom he had killed before, seemed to be nothingness and non-existence. Like an object, the long sword in his hand did not feel any obstruction at all. Boom! Just when Adcock was alert, a roar of thunder suddenly sounded behind him, and an invisible five-color light appeared from behind him and swept directly towards him. No! Adcock's expression suddenly changed, and he eagerly used his long sword to stop him. But at this moment, a huge force of oppression suddenly emerged from the formation, severely suppressing it. On Adcock. Pung! At this moment, the five-color light swept directly over Adcock, and at the same time, a wave of waves directly attacked the law chain containing the soul in Adcock's mind. Ah! Adcock felt a roar in his head, and his soul was shaken, and he immediately collapsed. Take it! In the void, Jason appeared, and the God of War tower appeared, taking the confused Adcock directly into it. Is this the power of the formation? After putting away the God of War tower, Jason's expression was filled with emotion. In terms of true strength, Adcock is much stronger than Bloxam. Even if Jason can defeat the opponent if defeated, he would most likely be seriously injured or even die. However, with the help of the fourth-level formation, Jason easily captured Adcock, a high-ranking spiritual god, without any effort. This is the formation of strength. After subduing Adcock, Jason disappeared again and began to attack the only other two high-level spiritual gods left in the fourth-level formation. The upper spiritual god is definitely the most powerful in Stern Continent. Even in the world of gods, he is not an ordinary person, but in the hands of Jason today, he cannot support him at all. From the moment Jason took action against Adcock to the moment Jason stopped, all three high-ranking spiritual gods were taken into the God of War Tower by Jason. In addition to the previous 8 median spiritual gods, the remaining 11 powerful spiritual gods from the world of gods were all taken back as slaves by Jason. Who? The illusory formation that originally enveloped the entire secret realm of the spiritual medicine master tower suddenly disappeared, and rainbows of light rose up, and finally turned into tiny star points, converging into Jason's hands. The bright light above the spirit medicine master tower, the blue sky once again appeared in front of the Bispham Tower Master and others, and the warm sunshine once again shone over the elixir city, bringing warmth. In the past, there were many strong men, and now only Jason and the master of Bispham Tower were left standing proudly in the terrifying and hazy sky. Jason, are these those spiritual gods from the god realm? Why have they disappeared? Have they left here? The 5 Bispham people who appeared from the illusion array immediately looked at Jason with doubtful eyes. Senior. They didn't dare to think that it would be Jason who killed them all. After all, they were 3 high-level spiritual gods and dozens of middle-level and lower-level spiritual gods. Haha. Jason smiled lightly, came in front of everyone, and immediately waved his hand. Whoosh! 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 11 powerful men from the god realm all appeared in front of Jason. The 5 people in Bispham were all shocked, but before they could say anything, there were 11 spiritual gods led by Adcock, Banyan, and Bruno, followed by the other 8 middle spiritual gods. In the surprised eyes of the 5 people in Bispham, they simultaneously bowed to Jason and said respectfully, "Meet the master." Master? At this moment, the 5 masters of Bispham Tower were all stunned. In the sky, Jason glanced at everyone, and then said, "From today on, you are my servants, guarding Stern Continent for me." "Yes, master." 11 people said respectfully. "Jason, what is going on?" The 5 people from Lanue Gusen finally recovered and looked over with doubtful eyes. Looking at the Adcock 11 people who were divided into 2 rows and standing there respectfully in front of Jason, the expressions on the faces of Lanue Gusen and others above the Elixir Master Tower were dull. These are 11 powerful men from the god realm. From the auras on their bodies, Lanue Gusen and the 5 of them can feel that the weakest one among them is a middle-level spiritual god. The 3 leaders are even more helpless. The high-ranking spiritual gods resisted, but they were enemies before and intended to kill and destroy the entire Stern Continent. These powerful men from the god realm now respectfully call Jason their master, but they make the 5 of Lanue Gusen at this moment. I couldn't accept it, couldn't imagine it, couldn't understand it. Master of Bispham Tower, everyone. Jason looked at everyone with a smile. These people who were in the big formation before have been completely conquered by me and will protect Stern Continent for us, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. Don't worry, okay, let's go down first. After that, Jason took Adcock and others and prepared to fly towards the Elixir Tower. Be conquered by you and protect Stern Continent for us? However, in the sky, the faces of Lanue Gusen and others could not help but be filled with doubts, and no one followed them down. Jason, are these people from the god realm really reliable? If they pretend to surrender to you and wait until they are in the Elixir Master Tower before launching an attack, then in Jason's ears, the voice of the master of Bispham Tower rang. Be thorough. It wasn't that he didn't believe Jason, but the development of things was completely beyond his expectation and he couldn't accept it for a while. Haha, don't worry, everyone. Jason shook his head with a smile and explained to Bispham and others, they have all become my slaves, and their souls are under my control. It is impossible to violate my orders. Yes, we will strictly abide by the master's will. I have offended you before, so please forgive me. The 11 people in Adcock were all respectful and humble. Soul slave? Lan Yu Gusen stepped forward curiously, sensing Adcock and others, but found nothing unusual at all. In the hearts of Lan Yu Gusen and others, they have never heard of such a thing as a soul slave, so it is no wonder that they are so curious. At that moment, Jason and his group flew towards the elixir medicine master tower below. During the flight, the master of Bispham Tower and others also understood that the reason why Jason was able to control Adcock and others was entirely because of the soul secret book he obtained after entering the innermost core in the battlefield of the gods. This is really terrifying. To control another person through soul control, not only actions, but even thoughts are completely controlled. Such a terrifying secret technique made the 5 people in Lan Yu Gusen horrified and sighed. If someone with powerful power controls this secret technique and uses it to rule the entire continent, who can resist? Thinking of this, Lan Yu Gusen and others couldn't help but feel chills in their hearts. Master Jason, this soul secret technique is not a particularly mysterious thing. In the god realm, there are also powerful spiritual gods who can control it. However, no one will learn such a secret technique in the god realm. Lan Yu Gusen and others sighed, but Adcock suddenly spoke respectfully. Why is this? In the world of gods, the secret technique of controlling other people's souls requires extremely powerful strength as a backing. Ordinary spiritual gods cannot perform it at all, let alone ordinary high-level spiritual gods, even the star god and the moon god. Even the sun god can't use it. As far as I know, it seems that only the strong ones in the realm of god kings can rely on their powerful souls to control other god-level strong people. If ordinary strong people use it, not only can they not enslave others, on the contrary, it will be counterattacked by the power of the soul of the recipient, causing the soul to become disordered or even die. Adcock's expression was extremely respectful. Although he was controlled by the soul, although he still had independent thoughts, his heart and soul, but has surrendered to Jason from the deepest level without any thought of rebellion. Only a strong man in the realm of God King can enslave others with his soul? The expressions of the 5 Lan Yu Gusen were stunned, and Jason was also stunned. As the owner of Adcock, Jason could tell at a glance that Adcock was not lying and what he said was completely true. When Jason obtained the soul secret technique, it only had methods of application and no requirements for users. Therefore, Jason thought that there were no level requirements before using it in the formation, but he succeeded easily. Now listening to Adcock, the secret technique of soul slavery has such terrible side effects, which makes Jason feel a little scared. At the same time, Jason also had some doubts about why he was able to perform the secret technique of the soul. Is it because I have obtained the heart of the God King of the East Pole God King that I can use the soul secret technique? A possibility floated in Jason's mind. Now, it seems that this is the only reasonable explanation. Adcock, among the spiritual gods who came to Stern Continent this time, who are the powerful ones? In the conference hall of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower, Jason sat in front and asked, carefully. Master, there are nearly 1,000 strong people coming to Stern Continent this time. The strongest among them is a sun god under the Dark God King. There are also 5 moon gods and dozens of star gods, but, when the transmission was being carried out, not long after the transmission started, the space channel connecting Stern Continent was broken. All the powerful people who entered the channel were annihilated in the space turbulence, and only a small number of people entered. In Stern Continent, the strongest among them is Lord Sergeant Sun, who is a star god. Under his command, there are also 3 high-level spiritual gods, dozens of middle-level spiritual gods and low-level spiritual gods. Others, there are only 11 of us left. Adcock knelt on one knee and spoke respectfully. 1 sun god, 5 moonlight gods, and dozens of star gods. Fortunately, the heart of the plane was repaired in time, otherwise the consequences. Jason's eyes flashed with brilliance. He was not able to withstand such a powerful strength. But it's okay now, only 1 star god is left. Master, now Lord Sergeant Sun has led other people to the battlefield of the gods in the Spirit Beast mountain range. It seems that it is said that he is trying to get the things that were there. Something left by the King of Gods there. Go to the battlefield of the gods? Jason's eyes couldn't help but condense. It was undeniable that the killing god brought was one of the 5 great generals under the King of East G. Is extremely powerful, but now he has been seriously injured in order to repair the heart of the plane. A star shining in the sky, Jason suddenly felt worried in his heart. No, Lord Brought, the god of death, is currently extremely weak. If Sergeant Sun and the others find him, it will be very dangerous. Jason couldn't help but be shocked. Not only Lord Brought, but now Claire is also in the Spirit Beast mountain range. Once the mountain range is lost, Claire will also face great danger. Jason's eyes flashed with a stern expression. The next moment, he stood up directly. The decision has already been made in my heart. Adcock, Banyan, and Bruno, the 3 of you will go with me to the Spiritual Beast mountain range immediately. The rest of you will all stay here to guard the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. The Master of Bispham Tower and the others did not wait for a reply. Jason, who was worried in his heart, tore through the void in the next moment and rushed towards the Spirit Beast mountain range. Yes, Master. At the same time as Jason set off, the 3 Adcocks also turned into 3 streams of light and disappeared into the void at the same time. I have to return to the Spiritual Beast mountain range quickly. As the Starry God, Sergeant Sun corresponds to the 4th level formation, but according to Adcock and the others, this Sergeant Sun also belongs to the Starry God. The most peak person, the 4th level formation, may not be able to surround him. During the flyby, Jason carefully considered the strength of himself and the other party, frowning. But fortunately, Sergeant Sun may not be wary of Adcock and the others. When the time comes, with the cooperation of the 3 of them, Sergeant Sun may not be able to kill him in the Spirit Beast mountain range. While thinking, Jason quickly rushed towards the Spirit Beast mountain range. In the deepest part of the Spiritual Beast mountain range, there is a mysterious battlefield of gods in the void. This is a gloomy world. The sky and the earth are covered with gray. Looking far into the distance, the wind and sand are like giant dragons, roaring across the wilderness. The cold wind blows like a blade, sweeping across the earth, bringing endless desolation in the distance. A stretch of majestic mountains stands like giant wild ancient beasts from ancient times, lying on this plain, giving people endless oppression. This is a secret realm deep in the battlefield of the gods. Back then, a large number of spiritual masters from the god realm and the local masters of the Stern continent had an extremely brutal battle here. The sky was stained with blood, and their bodies fell into the wasteland. A large number of the breath of God and the laws of elements have made this place cold and lifeless. However, at this moment, in this secret realm that had been silent for tens of thousands of years, it was like a dead volcano coming to life again, erupting with incomparable power. Rainbow-like divine power floats in the void, beautiful and murderous. It is like a colorful cloud ribbon that dazzles the eyes. It is also like a poisonous spider in the jungle, hiding under the colorful colors, revealing deadly fangs. Boom! A roar that shook the 9 heavens resounded, the void collapsed in the colorful light belt, the space was shaken, and a huge ripple hit the heaven and earth. The powerful pressure shook the 9 heavens and 10 earth, as if the end was coming. It was shocking and moving. Broat, you were one of the 5 great generals under the East Pole God King at that time, and you actually used such despicable methods to deal with us. If you have the guts, come out and fight me. Deep in the steaming light belt, a line of light, the roar of thunder resounded, with provocative and angry hands. Ah! Immediately afterwards, there was a shrill roar, and there were figures in the glow. But as the painful roar sounded, 6 black shadows instantly shattered, and blood spattered all over the ground. The hard divine body was like fragile tofu at this moment, being directly obliterated and emptied by the strange power in the void. The powerful power diffused past, and even the fragments of the divine law remaining in his brain after death were splashed away. The rays of light flowed, the avenue was majestic, and the five-color light belt did not stop, sweeping towards the remaining figures. "Brot, have the courage to come out and fight me." The roar sounded again. This was a man wearing a golden robe and a cropped crown. The blond young man with handsome appearance and extraordinary bearing was none other than the star god Sergeant Sun, who came to Stern Continent from the space passage above the Spirit Master Tower. At the beginning, he had a noble expression, his cold eyes stood proudly, and looked down upon everything. However, at this moment, he no longer had the grace and elegance of the past. His eyes were red and his expression was angry. Originally, in his imagination, there were no strong people in the Stern Continent. With his starry god strength, it was easy for adults to accomplish anything. The reality was as he imagined. After entering the spiritual beast mountain range, he could not do anything at all. Without encountering the slightest difficulty, he went directly to the depths of the battlefield of the gods. However, just when his heart was filled with pride, an accident happened. It was as if an ancient divine formation had been driven. A large amount of five-color light mist, containing terrifying power, enveloped them all and carried out a crazy attack. Kill. What makes Sergeant Sun even more angry is that the person driving this formation is actually Brot, one of the 5 most powerful generals under the East Pole God King in ancient times. As one of the 5 major generals, at that time, Brot was the most powerful sun god. Every divine general under the God King was stunning and a top figure among the sun gods. If in ancient times, with Sergeant Sun's strength, Brot, if you want to kill him, you don't even need to lift a finger. But Sergeant Sun knew that in that battle that year, almost all the great generals under the East Pole God King fell. Even if Brot was alive, he would probably be a useless person now. But Brot didn't show up. He just used the formation hidden on the battlefield of the gods to launch a fierce attack on them, leaving him extremely embarrassed. The situation where he couldn't see the enemy at all made Sergeant Sun keep dodging. At the same time, I was filled with anger. On the murderous battlefield, the killing continues. Poof. Poof. Like dull cloth being torn apart, a large number of figures held in pain, with streaks of blood splashing out from their bodies. Unable to resist the murderous intent, many people directly collapsed and turned into a piece of flesh. Puffy blood mist and broken bones. In a moment, the dozens of figures in the colorful mist fell and disappeared one by one, leaving only the last 4 people. Damn it, if this continues, I'm afraid everyone will die here, even me. Sergeant Sun was anxious in his heart, but he was helpless. Seeing that he and 3 superior spiritual gods were left alone, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and let out a loud shout. "Everyone, follow me closely and break out with me." Boom! In the roar of anger, a golden ball of light suddenly appeared in Sergeant Sun's hand. The golden ball of light appeared in the void, blooming with dazzling light, and directly rushed out of a huge channel in the 5-color glow. This golden ball of light was a forbidden weapon he obtained before going to Stern Continent. It could explode with huge power in times of danger and save his life, but it was a pity that it could only be used once. "Follow me." Using his last resort, Sergeant Sun shouted loudly and rushed forward. However, as his words fell, 3 shrill roars of pain sounded almost at the same time. In his piercing eyes, his 3 superior spiritual gods were directly swallowed up by the surging rays of light and turned into nothingness. Sergeant Sun roared sadly, turned his head resolutely, rushed out of the formation along the passage struck by the golden light ball in his hand, and disappeared into a pitch-black space not far away. Ho! In the endless darkness, Sergeant Sun was covered in blood and breathing heavily. His body was trembling, his expression was frightened and angry, with endless sorrow, and in the deepest part of his eyes, there was a hint of fear. In Sergeant Sun's view, this trip to Stern Continent is simply something that does not require much energy. However, the cruelty of reality is like a heavy hammer that has shaken Sergeant Sun's heart. The fantasy was shattered in an instant. They have fallen. Everyone has fallen except me. Sergeant Sun murmured. It was difficult to recover from the frustration for a while, but the next moment, a trace of anger suddenly bloomed in his eyes. This should be the secret realm of darkness in the legendary battlefield of the gods. Brought, you failed to kill me this time, because I was lucky. Just wait, Sergeant Sun, will definitely avenge this. In the darkness, Sergeant Sun looked at this mysterious dark space with ferocious eyes. The next moment, his figure suddenly flashed and disappeared into the void. The battlefield of the gods, in a mysterious space. A pale middle-aged man with long fiery red hair looked calmly at the screen of light in front of him. Above this light curtain, the colorful rays of light flowed, which was the formation used to kill a large number of powerful people in the heavenly god realm. With the death of all the powerful people in the heavenly god realm and the escape of Sergeant Sun, murderous intent was everywhere, and the light soared into the sky. The formation gradually returned to calm at this moment. Ahem. In front of the light curtain, the pale man in red robe suddenly bent over and coughed out 2 mouthfuls of blood. I'm old, I'm really old. Broad shook his head, with an old look of decline in his eyes. In the ancient times, with his strength, it would be easy to kill the Uesho god and even the sunlight god. However, now, because he has been guarding the continent for many years, he has many scars on his body, and he has killed a Xingyao in a row. The gods had to lead the opponent into the prepared formation trap and rely on the formation to kill the opponent, but the final result was not successful. Such a huge difference in results made Brought, a figure who once stood at the pinnacle of the gods, feel a sense of desolation. I didn't expect that Sergeant Sun had such a skill, and he actually escaped into the secret realm of darkness. In front of the light curtain, Brought frowned. Although the battlefield of the gods is now managed by me, it is the place where the ancient gods are buried after all. Some places are very strange and even I cannot completely control them. The Dark Haze secret realm is one of them. Sergeant Sun entered it. Now I can't understand his whereabouts at all. It would be okay if he fell in it, but if he escaped, a trace of worry floated in Brought's heart. Well, this dark secret realm is full of dangers. Even with the strength of Sergeant Sun, the god of starry sky, it is difficult to escape from it alive. Now, I might as well recover from my injuries. Only when my strength recovers can I truly complete the mission of the God King. The mission is to protect Stern Continent. Brought thought to himself. Suddenly, he raised his head and looked to the left with some feeling. There, a light curtain appeared out of thin air. In the light curtain, a figure was coming from the outer reaches of the Spirit Beast mountain range, were rushing towards him. Behind him, 3 powerful men from the god realm exuding astonishing auras were following closely behind him with respectful expressions. Haha, it seems that this boy Jason has also taken care of the other powerful teams of the god realm on the mainland. Now that the heart of the plane is stable, there is no need to worry about another invasion of the god realm in a short time. That's it. Let's meet Jason first, and then go into seclusion. A smile appeared on Brought's face, and the next moment, his figure swayed slightly and disappeared into the mysterious space. Who? Above the endless void, 4 figures were like lightning, piercing the sky directly and rushing towards the spiritual medicine master's tower. Among the 4, the leader is Jason, who has black hair. Jason, who had previously been worried about Brought and Claire, had just arrived at the Spirit Beast Mountains when Brought appeared and told Jason everything that happened on the battlefield of the gods. When he heard that Sergeant Sun, the strongest man in the god realm, had not died, but had entered a secret realm of haze that even Brought could not detect, Jason immediately expressed his intention to lead Adcock and the other 3 people into it and bring them together. The encirclement and killing was immediately rejected by Brought. The Haze secret realm is a very strange secret realm full of dangers in the battlefield of the gods. Not to mention the star god, even if the moonlight god or even the sunlight god enters it, it will be very dangerous. With the strength of Jason's middle spiritual god, once he enters it, the dangers faced are too great, he will fall easily, and it is almost difficult to find the location of Sergeant Sun. Even if he is lucky enough to find it, Jason is the middle spiritual god. Although there are 3 adcocks, with his help, it is not easy to kill Sergeant Sun. With this in mind, Brot blocked Jason's entry. As one of the 5 great generals under the East Pole God King, Brot would never allow Jason to face such danger. As Jason returned to the Alchemist Tower safely, a huge threat from the God Realm was quietly eliminated. The entire continent once again returned to peace. In the Spiritual Medicine Master's Tower, on the Island of Transformation, Jason was sitting cross-legged, facing a large amount of spiritual medicine, and was lost in thought. After returning to the Alchemist Tower, Jason told everyone the news that all the powerful men in the God Realm had died, which immediately aroused everyone's interest. But when everyone was extremely excited, Renaud and Uriah and others also came to the Alchemist Tower from the territory of chaos. Jason, who rarely got together, immediately spent a month of happy time with his parents and others, and after a period of rest, Jason also once again entered into seclusion and practice. Although this time the attack of the God Realm was repelled, and the heart of the plane was stable, it was difficult for the God Realm to invade again, but the crisis of Stern Continent always existed, which also urged as Jason continued to improve himself. This time, Jason did not start with formations, but instead devoted himself to the practice of spiritual medicine, moving towards his ultimate goal, God of Medicine. In his past life and this life, Jason has reached the level of a 9th level elixir master. In this life, he has even refined a semi-divine potion. It can be said that he is only one step away from becoming a medicine god. But over the years, Jason's own strength has been breaking through to the mid-level spiritual god, and his attainments in formations have also made a qualitative leap. However, in terms of spiritual medicine, Jason has always been stuck at the level of demigod medicine. Jason had made up his mind. This time he will become the 10th level medicine god. On the Island of Transformation, Jason fell into the realization of the elixir. The reason why Jason in his previous life could only reach the level of a 9th level elixir master was because he could not cultivate spiritual power. But if he wanted to become a 10th level medicine god, in addition to having amazing attainments in elixirs, he also had to, as for the master, he must also cultivate to the 10th level of spiritual god. In this life, Jason finally became a 10th level spiritual god, and it was finally time to fulfill his long-cherished wish. In the laboratory of Huashan Island, Jason fell into deep thought as he faced a large amount of elixir materials. When he was preparing the demigod potion before, Jason already understood that if he wanted to truly prepare a 10th level magic potion, he must use the elixir to a perfect level. To become one's own child is like a mother's 10-month pregnancy, which is a process of creating life. Jason also understood this in the handbook of East Pole God King Stern. Every bottle of the 10th level magic medicine has heaven-defying power. It is no longer a simple bottle of magic medicine, but a life. However, compared to humans, spiritual beasts, and other animals, the magic medicine has no spiritual intelligence. It can be regarded as a plant, with life, but no clear will. All things in the world have numerous avenues, but their true origin is the unity of the avenues. However, logic is logic. Although the path to the 10th level magic medicine has become more and more clear in Jason's mind, if he wants to truly prepare a bottle of the 10th level magic medicine, Jason understands that this will not happen overnight. Just because you know something, doesn't mean you can do it. Boom. In the laboratory, Jason had been meditating quietly for more than a month. After summarizing all the knowledge about elixirs in his mind, Jason's eyes suddenly opened, and a ball of dazzling light burst out. Jingmong, the whole person suddenly started to move. On the experimental table, a large number of elixirs seemed to be pulled by some invisible force at this moment. They slowly rose up. Endless rays of light rose. A large number of holy elixirs containing the ultimate medicinal power were controlled by Jason. Next, they merged together quickly. Subtle rays of light emerged in the void, which were manifestations of the medicinal power of different elixirs, just like the meridians of the human body, flashing with the rhythm of breathing. Jason's expression was solemn. Under his control, a large number of holy medicines fused together, emitting energy that stretched across the sky. Various elixir techniques, under Jason's full exertion, were operating to the extreme, but before the elixir could be formed, the elixir that Jason was preparing exploded with a bang. Endless rays of light scattered in all directions, each containing the power of the Great Avenue. It could easily kill a 9th-level high-level Holy Spirit Master. However, with the strength of Jason's mid-level spiritual god, the power of these elixirs was defeated by Jason. Send quick relief. Failed. Looking at everything in front of him, Jason frowned slightly and sighed inwardly. Why is the road to the medicine god so difficult? Jason made the formula based entirely on his own understanding. In his imagination, even if he didn't succeed, it wouldn't be a complete failure, but the result was completely unexpected. His expectations. There must be something else I don't understand, Jason thought in his mind. According to Ancestor Stern, the 10th level elixir is the ultimate understanding of life, the ultimate understanding of the Tao, and the perfect coordination of all things and elements in the world to achieve ultimate coordination. But how to achieve this? One thing, he didn't say. Thinking about it, everyone's understanding is different, and their methods are also different. It can't be copied at all. I can only find such a method by constantly exploring and experimenting. The road to the god of medicine, it is extremely difficult. This can be seen from the fact that in the Stern continent for countless years, except for the East Pole god king, no one has achieved medicine. Which one has not experienced refining weapons again and finally summed it up? Try it slowly and find your own way to become a medicine god. Jason made a decision. With a thought, materials were ejected from the God of War tower between Jason's eyebrows again, and Jason began his second preparation experiment. 2 trials failed, and Jason made adjustments. 3 tests still failed, continue to adjust. 4 tests, 10 tests, 100 tests, various different preparation methods, Jason continued to experiment. These methods gave Jason different experiences and insights, allowing Jason to advance in the road of preparing elixirs. The understanding of the subject is advancing by leaps and bounds. Jason devoted himself wholeheartedly, and every elixir was a 9th-level holy medicine. These were 9th-level holy medicines that he obtained from various major forces and cultivated in the 9 spirits chi gathering formation on Huashan Island. It should be said that the first prerequisite for the preparation of elixir is materials. The materials are too poor and it is impossible to prepare a 10th-level elixir. But after all, this was Jason's initial attempt and exploration. 10th-level magic medicines are extremely rare in the Stern continent. Only some mutated elixirs in the center of the medicine field on Huashan Island have mutated towards the 10th-level magic medicine, but the quantity was extremely small, and there was no room for Jason to squander it. Huh? The elixir materials have been used up again. In the laboratory, when Jason was most attentive to the experiment, Jason discovered that the 9th-level holy elixir on his body had been used up by him again. Now, 10 years have passed since Jason's first attempt. In the past 10 years, Jason has not been formulating. Most of the time, he has been thinking and exploring. Every failure in the experiment gave him a glimmer of inspiration. In the past 10 years, the little bits of inspiration gathered together finally brought his attainments in elixir medicine to a level that ordinary people could not even imagine. Jason could clearly feel that he was only one step away from the medicine god, but even with this step, Jason could not cross it. It seems that I have to go out to get some materials from Lanuigusan again. In the laboratory, Jason shook his head and said to himself. Huh? Jason was suddenly startled. Have I reached the realm of a high-level spiritual god? In the past 10 years, whenever Jason was not making preparations, he would enter the God of War tower and think and explore in the God of War space. At the same time, in this artifact space that is countless times richer than the spiritual energy of the outside world, the spiritual god art in Jason's body is also being practiced involuntarily. Although Jason was completely integrated into the world of elixirs because of his search for the god of medicine, and did not practice and improve independently at all, what Jason did not expect was that it was this innocent heart, this immersion in this state of selflessness in the world made Jason unknowingly enter the realm of the upper spiritual god. And that kind of obsessive investment in the road to the medicine god overshadowed everything else, even overwhelming the fluctuations in the laws of heaven and earth, allowing Jason to naturally step into the upper spiritual god. On Transformation Island, the door to Jason's closed laboratory suddenly opened with a creak. A young man with long black hair walked out. It was Jason. Without any hesitation, Jason, who had used up all the elixir, walked directly to the medicine field in the middle of Huashan Island. Although Jason consumes elixir materials very quickly, due to the existence of the 720-fold 9-spirit gathering formation, a large number of elixirs are continuously growing. In recent years, the amount of 9th-level elixirs possessed by the Elixir Master Tower has not only increased, it did not decrease, but increased a lot. In a short time, Jason came directly to the medicine field. 10 years have passed. Today, in the Huashan Island medicine field, only a small area in the outermost area is planted with 8th-level Emperor-level elixirs. As for the medicine fields, each plant is at least a 9th-level holy medicine. According to their respective, the characteristics grow densely together, exuding a refreshing atmosphere. Each of these elixirs is extremely noble. They are swaying in the medicine field. A large number of medicinal chi shadows appear in the medicine field. Fire clouds sweep across, unicorns run, cranes dance, dragons and phoenixes dance. All kinds of noble medicinal chi merge with each other, like it has turned into a fairyland on earth. And in the center of the medicine field, there are dozens of plants that exude divine power, like rare elixirs with life. They are particularly special among countless 9th-level holy medicines. They are particularly gorgeous in the medicine field, like medicine. The king has attracted countless holy medicines to worship him. However, in the center of the medicine field is where Lan Yu Gusen practices. She closes her eyes and sits cross-legged. The shadow of a tall holy tree appears above her head. The colorful light flows and absorbs the entire medicine. Almost 2/3 of the spiritual energy in the field, every vibration, will attract the call of all the elixirs in the medicine field. It seems that Lan Yu Gusen is not far away from the middle spiritual god. Jason looked at Lan Yu Gusen with a slight smile on his lips, and then walked directly to the medicine field, preparing to pick some elixirs. Huh? However, before Jason could take action, his outstretched right hand suddenly froze, and he looked forward in surprise. Boom! In front of me, I saw the blue moon Gusen, who was sitting there quietly cross-legged. The green hair on her head suddenly danced out of thin air. At the same time, the shadow of the holy tree above her head also started to shake. Thousands of rays of light were like waterfalls, falling from the sky. It fell down once hit, wrapping the entire medicinal field in it. This is Jason's eyes suddenly widened. The next moment, boom! A strange fluctuation of the laws of heaven and earth came, and an inexplicable pressure enveloped Lan Yu Gusen in the medicine field. Lan Yu Gusen's divine power reached the limit of the lower spiritual god. At this moment a transformation has occurred. Lan Yu Gusen has been promoted to the middle spiritual god. Jason, who had experience, immediately understood the changes in Lan Yu Gusen at this moment. This feeling in the medicine field, Jason was enveloped by the light emitted by the blue moon ancient forest. The shadow of the holy tree became more and more solid, and a unique atmosphere and rules enveloped Jason. As if he felt something incredible, Jason's eyes widened. Who? A sharp sound broke through the air, and Lan Yu Gusen's promotion also attracted everyone in the entire Elixir Master Tower. I didn't expect that there would be such a pure saint in the stern continent. The aura on her body is really unbelievable. Looking at the huge shadow of the holy tree in the void, the figure from the god realm Adcock and others all exclaimed in surprise. Saint people? After hearing Adcock's words, Jason couldn't help but murmured. Just when he was about to ask something, at this moment, countless starlights suddenly burst out from the shadow of the holy tree and sprinkled on the medicinal field. Because Jason was standing in the medicine field, some of these light spots were integrated into Jason's body. Whoa! At this moment, Jason's mind suddenly seemed to have a flash of inspiration. So that's it. Jason couldn't help but exclaimed. In the middle of the medicine field, Jason stood completely stunned on the spot. He is stupid, like a piece of wood, with his eyes full of energy, standing in the medicine field, but if you look closely at his body, you can see that his body is trembling slightly, like waves that are constantly rising and falling. This is an expression of great excitement. So that's it, Jason murmured. His expression was excited and his face was flushed. His whole person seemed to be trapped in some kind of delusion. At the same time, a ray of light bloomed from his eyes. The ray of light became more and more powerful, giving people a dazzling feeling. Jason, he is master, is this all? In the sky, Cassinus and others who rushed here were all looking at Jason in confusion. Even though they didn't understand what happened to Jason, they could feel the excitement from the deepest part of Jason's heart. In the medicine field, from the shadow of the holy tree, countless mottled light spots float down, beautiful and gorgeous. Moisturized by these light spots, every elixir in the medicine field seems to be brewed by fairy jelly. With the nourishment, it grows crazily. If the effectiveness of the 9 spirits chi gathering formation on Huashan Island itself has reached 720 times, then now, on this basis, the growth rate of the elixirs is even more a 10-fold or a 100-fold increase. In particular, the dozens of plants in the middle of the medicine field exuding magical elixirs were shining brightly at this moment. The laws of heaven and earth turned into strips of aura, pouring into them one after another, bursting out with unparalleled magnificence. Breath. At this moment, the entire Huashan Island seemed to have turned into a fairyland on earth, the most magnificent place in the world. I understand in the medicine field, Jason murmured, and his heart suddenly became clear. For a moment, there seemed to be a ray of light penetrating from the top of his head, illuminating his whole body. Boom! In the medicine field, Jason suddenly took action. The 5-color divine rainbow rushed out and turned into a giant palm. He grabbed several magic medicine plants in the center of the medicine field and swept up dozens of magic medicine plants in the surrounding area. The next moment, Jason's figure has disappeared and entered the laboratory. In the empty laboratory, dozens of elixirs that Jason had picked before were floating quietly around him, and streaks of rays of light were escaping from them. At the same time, powerful elixir essences, like angry dragons, roared and swept through the laboratory. Jason's eyes were closed tightly, and his face was demure, like a sleeping baby, breathing in the mother's body. It is quiet and peaceful. In his body, the 5 elements of divine power flow slowly, as if the rivers are flowing between the mountains and rivers, revealing a natural atmosphere of the Great Road. Huh! Suddenly, Jason's closed eyes opened, as if the sky had opened its eyes, and 2 bright lights illuminated the sky. The next moment, Jason's body suddenly moved, and the movements were so soft and graceful that it was shocking. Indulge in it. This time, Jason gave full play to his understanding of the elixir and his understanding of life. On the island of the gods, in the medicine field in the center of the valley, the thousands of rays of light finally slowly converged, thousands of traces of medicinal energy gradually settled down. It turns out that I am Lanui Gusen, wearing a green silk shawl, with holy eyes. She has been promoted to the middle spiritual god. Instead of showing any joy on her face, she is dumbfounded, staring at his hands blankly. At her feet, thousands of elixirs swayed like ministers worshipping the emperor, blooming with rays of light. Why is this happening? Lan Yugusan whispered, his eyes unfocused, lost and dejected. Lan Yugu Sr. in the sky, Bispham Tower Master, Cassinus and others were flying over with smiles on their faces. Congratulations on your promotion to the middle spiritual god. Everyone, I'm sorry, I need to be alone for a while. Lan Yugusan's face turned pale, and he turned around and entered his own mansion. She is over the medicine field. Everyone in Cassinus was stunned, staring blankly at Lan Yugusan's disappearance. The figure from behind, not understanding what happened. And when Lan Yugusan was promoted to the mid-level spiritual god, Jason was in seclusion in the laboratory. Deep in the Spirit Beast mountain range. This is a strange swamp, with hideous and disgusting scavengers covered in scales lurking in it, searching for their prey. There is peace in the mountain forest. It seems quiet, but it is full of murderous intent. In a swamp with boiling bubbles, a large group of scavengers are lurking in it. If someone looks carefully, they can see that above this peaceful swamp, a pair of violent and cold eyes are hidden in the mud. Among them, observing every move around him. Boom! Suddenly, a roar resounded, mud splashed all over the sky, and a huge space crack was torn open in the void in the swamp. The next moment, an embarrassed figure quickly flew out of it. This figure was extremely tall, a young man with blonde hair. On his body, a torn robe was draped over his shoulders. His eyes were cold and sinister, and he looked quite embarrassed. Invisible pressure enveloped the entire swamp, and all the scavengers raised their heads in fear, looking at this demon-like figure, feeling trembling deep in their hearts. Humph! The blonde young man looked around and let out a cold shout. Boom! An invisible wave of spiritual power swept across, and the powerful force spread directly. In the entire swamp, nearly 100 scavengers were directly transformed into nothingness by this shock wave. I'm out. After struggling in the dark secret realm for so long, I, Sergeant Sun, am finally out. The blonde young man glanced around and suddenly laughed crazily, with a ferocious look on his face. Brought, you didn't expect it, right? The blonde young man gritted his teeth, his eyes full of madness. Not only did this dark and mysterious realm fail to trap me, Sergeant Sun, but in this crisis, I made a breakthrough. The Xingyao god who has never been able to break has been promoted to the Moonlight god. The blonde young man clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes showed piercing hatred. In the past 10 years, he has been struggling in the dark and mysterious realm, and every day he didn't know what kind of danger he would face. He narrowly escaped death. Maybe it was due to luck. In the past 10 years, he had miraculously avoided every crisis. He even successfully broke through to the Yuehui god 2 years ago and passed through the darkness. A space crack in the haze secret realm returned to the stern continent again. Moonlight god, I really didn't expect that I would break through to the Moonlight god. God is really helping me. Brought, today is the anniversary of your death. Sergeant Sun looked at the deepest part of the Spirit Beast mountain range. Looking at the battlefield of the gods with hatred, he moved slightly and was about to go to the battlefield of the gods. However, at the next moment, his figure that had just been flying suddenly stopped. This Brought was one of the 5 great generals under the command of the East Pole God King back then, and his strength reached its peak. Although he is in decline now, he is very likely to be seriously injured and his strength has greatly declined. But this battlefield of the gods is his home ground. Maybe what other hidden methods does he have? Although I have been promoted to the Moonlight God and my strength has been greatly improved, Sergeant Sun frowned slightly and murmured. In the past 10 years, Sergeant Sun has been full of love for Brought. He was filled with resentment and wanted to eat his flesh and gnaw his bones. But after he really escaped from it, Sergeant Sun suddenly calmed down in his ecstasy. His experience made Sergeant Sun understood that Brought, one of the 5 great generals under the command of the East Pole God King, although his strength has greatly declined now, is definitely not something that he, the newly promoted Yuehui God, can kill casually. If there are any hidden methods, Sergeant Sun, who had just broken through the Moonlight God and had not had time to be happy for a long time, could only cry without tears. This battlefield of the gods is Brat's home field, so what means is also in this battlefield of the gods. Once he leaves here, he will have no other means at all. But, is there any way to make him leave the battlefield of the gods voluntarily? Sergeant Sun pondered slightly, and the next moment, his eyes suddenly lit up. This Brat is guarding the stern continent. If I were to kill people on this stern continent, I don't believe he would turn a blind eye. Watching me slaughter all the people on the entire continent without showing up. Thinking of this, a sneer appeared at the corner of Sergeant Sun's mouth. Huh. The next moment, Sergeant Sun turned into a golden stream of light and rushed towards the location of stern continent. I don't know if the elixir tower, which is known as the #1 force in stern continent, has been destroyed. Go check it out. While talking to himself, Sergeant Sun disappeared into the sky. In the elixir master tower, Lan Yuigusan sat quietly in the valley. Her expression was gentle, and she looked peacefully at the elixir in the valley in front of her. Full of it has been a while since Lan Yuigusan was promoted to the middle spiritual god. During these days, Lan Yuigusan has always stayed in the medicine field so quietly, with quiet eyes, looking at the elixir in front of him. I don't know what I was thinking. Alas, suddenly, a leisurely sigh came from Lan Yuigusan's mouth. Lan Yuigusan, who had been sitting there quietly, finally stood up slowly. The sad expression also suddenly became calm. No matter who I am or where I come from, I am Lan Yuigusan, and this will never change. A murmur came from her mouth, weak, but extremely firm. Boom. At this moment, suddenly, a huge roar sounded, and the weather over the entire Huashan Island suddenly changed. Lan Yuigusan hurriedly raised his head and stared at the laboratory where Jason was not far away. Crash! As if a wave was surging, waves of elixir aura surged into the sky, like an erupting volcano, spurting out from Jason's laboratory. Thousands of rays of light sparkle across the sky, and the boundless laws of the Great Avenue fall down like waterfalls. They are intricately connected and shocking, forming a magnificent picture. A majestic aura that made people shudder to the point of heart palpitations came from the laboratory where Jason was located, instantly shocking the entire elixir master tower. What's going on? What exactly happened? Where did this fluctuation come from? Why do I have the urge to worship? At this moment, the entire elixir master tower was in riot, and everyone was unable to calm down. Countless disciples rushed out of their respective mansions and looked up at the sky. Wherever, the boundless avenue breath fell magnificently and turned into auspiciousness. Looking around, the entire spirit medicine master tower seemed to be presented in a ray of light, shocking. In the shocked eyes of all the disciples, a bright light illuminated the surroundings, reflecting the elixir city's beauty. Not only that, but there was also a dazzling brilliance that appeared in the sky and illuminated everyone's faces. Boom! Like the roar of thunder, shaking the 9 provinces, and like the galloping of thousands of horses, the sky and the earth burst apart. In the secret area where the Sky City is located, thousands of rays of light swept across, dazzling and brilliant, shaking the 9 heavens and 10 places, above the Transformation Island. What's more, the endless laws of the Great Avenue are falling down, like a rushing river falling from the sky, and various mysteries are revealed, reflecting people's eyes. Whoosh! 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 One after another figures came like auroral glimpses, floating above the turbulent spirit sea, watching Huashan Island from a distance. It's incredible, it's incredible. What happened? Jason's key, the master of Bispham Tower, and others were horrified. Looking at the strange situation above the island of transformation, a huge wave of excitement swept through their hearts. Stormy sea. The bright rays of rays flowed, falling from the sky, and floated into the bodies of the master of Bispham Tower and others. In their perception, as soon as these rays of rays entered their bodies, it was as if they had taken some kind of peerless elixir, from the deepest part of their souls. Every cell in the body is full of vitality. The aura of the avenue circulated around them. At this moment, whether it was Bispham, Cassinus, Helia, McGrady, or others, a kind of understanding emerged in their hearts. The secrets that originally seemed vague in his mind became clear, as if a light of wisdom penetrated their souls. This feeling. Oh my God! Almost at the same time, everyone present exclaimed, with extremely excited expressions on their faces. They could feel that all the things that had accumulated in their minds over the past few years, the difficult problems, the understanding of the laws, and the understanding of the Great Road were all solved at this moment, and they were fully understood. This is what the realm of the middle spiritual God is like. It's unbelievable. I feel that I have touched the edge of the middle spiritual God. As long as I calm down and practice hard, I will definitely be able to successfully advance to the next level in a few months. Middle spiritual gods. Bispham, McGrady, and Helia all exclaimed. As veteran powerhouses, although they have been promoted to lower spiritual gods, in the past 20 years, they have been in the lower ranks. The spiritual God has repeatedly encountered difficulties and troubles when trying to understand the middle spiritual God. Although in the spiritual medicine master tower, there have been Banyan and other high-level spiritual gods in the past 10 years, who can provide guidance to everyone, the understanding of the law is not something that someone can guide casually. Everything depends on oneself, so Bispham and others were extremely melancholy. But at this moment, under the nourishment of these rays of light, all the problems that had remained in their minds in the past suddenly became clear and smooth in these 6 moments, as if the Great Road came directly in front of them. Compared with Bispham and others, young strong men like Cassinus have gained a lot more. In the baptism of the glow, they actually have the urge to directly advance to the middle spiritual God. Not only the lower-level spiritual gods such as Bispham and Cassinus, but also the 3 upper-level spiritual gods such as Banyan, Adcock, and Bruno, were nourished by this ray of light. The huge gain was just that there was a huge difference between the upper spiritual gods and the star god. This kind of gain could not enable them to break through the original confinement and break through directly. Such a breath, this glow that can enhance one's strength, Jason's key while shocked, a doubt also appeared in the minds of the masters of Bispham Tower. It was obvious that this must be because something happened to Jason that caused this situation to happen. So, what exactly is this situation? Could it be, as soon as this doubt emerged, the master of Bispham Tower and the others seemed to have thought of something, with a look of horror on their faces. For the past 10 years, Jason has been hiding in the laboratory of Huashan Island every day, rarely coming out. Bispham and the others naturally know that Jason is testing elixirs and trying to reach the realm of the 10th level medicine god. Now, what happened seeing such a shocking scene? Could it be that Jason succeeded in attacking the medicine god? It's possible. I'm afraid only those who have reached the god of medicine can have such visions, right? So, this glow could be a god-level spiritual potion prepared by Jason? As soon as these words came out, the entire audience was silent, everyone's expressions were blank. The 10th level medicine god is a completely unimaginable realm. In Stern's long history of the continent, many god-level powerhouses have appeared. Especially in ancient times, god-level powerhouses are all over the continent, but as far as Bispham and the others know, there has never been a 10th level medicine god. On the Stern continent, the strongest one is only a 9th level elixir master. In fact, a 10th level medicine god has appeared, and that is the East Pole god King Stern, but his identity is only known to a few people such as Brat. 10th level medicine god? Master, has he become a 10th level medicine god? Compared with Bispham and the others' surprise, the waves in the hearts of Banyan and the others were even more earth-shattering and horrifying. Coming from the god realm, their knowledge is much better than that of Bispham and the others. In the god realm, elixir masters and formation masters are the 2 most noble professions, especially elixir masters. After everyone is promoted to the god level, even those who do not have the talent for elixirs can still prepare simple elixirs. This has also led to the extremely large number of elixir masters in the god realm. A considerable number of them are 9th level elixir masters, and even demigod medicine man. However, it is difficult to find traces of the 10th level medicine god in the world of gods, because once promoted to the 10th level medicine god, it shows that the spiritual medicine master has reached an extreme level in understanding the origin of life. The state has entered the true unification of all laws and is consistent with the great road of heaven and earth. From what Adcock and the others know about the history of the god realm, there have only been a handful of people who have reached the 10th level of the medicine god in the entire god realm for countless years, and the most recent one is the Dongji god who fell tens of thousands of years ago. Wang Stern. Huashan Island, in the laboratory. Jason was completely immersed in a magical state. In front of him, a bottle of dazzling elixir floated. This bottle of elixir was extremely unique, like a newborn baby, slightly it breathed, and as it breathed, unique breaths rippled out, rendering the entire room colorful. The entire elixir tower and this shocking scene were formed by the aura emanating from this unique bottle of elixir. In the room, Jason's eyes were closed tightly, his breathing was slow, and his body's breath seemed to be completely integrated into the world and into the avenue. Is this the initial feeling of life? Is this the process of the derivation of the Great Road? Is this the movement of heaven and earth and the laws that all things follow? All things on earth are composed of the most basic particles, and particles constitute elements, elements form organizations, and organizations form completely different species, but their origins are the same. There seemed to be some kind of light in Jason's heart. Tau gives birth to 1, gives birth to 2, 2 gives birth to 3, and 3 gives birth to all things. Everything in heaven and earth is composed of the most basic particles and is made of Daomei. The great Tao of heaven and earth initially evolves, chaos first opens, all things return to their origin, and life is born. The formation of life is a natural result of the evolution of the great Tao. It can be said that at this point, the spiritual medicine master is the one who defies heaven and changes fate. Boom! Invisible fluctuations swept across. In this enlightenment, Jason's thoughts were completely clear. In his perception, everything in the body was transformed into the most basic particles, and every part he could see clearly, like transparent glass. At the same time, Jason also saw that in the deepest part of his body, which had been reborn and was directly composed of divine energy, there were still a lot of black impurities, like sludge. Like tarsal maggots. Silent point. A smile bloomed quietly at the corner of Jason's mouth, and the great road roared in his body. Tiny esoteric runes appeared one by one, wandering around Jason's body, and finally turned into white divine fire, burning Jason. Sense. Chi chi chi. Under the burning of this white divine fire, all the black impurities in Jason's body were instantly burned into nothingness by Jingyao. Boom. A bright rainbow light fell from the sky and penetrated directly through Jason's head. Buzz. The invisible rules of the avenue came, and Jason originally reached the aura of the upper spiritual god, but at this moment he climbed up quickly. This aura is Lord Jason. He has actually been promoted to star god? Not far from Huashan Island, Banyan and others felt this astonishing aura, and all of them were wide-eyed. His eyes and mouth screamed in surprise. Boom boom. At the same time, in the elixir city outside the elixir master tower, when Jason became the god of medicine, prepared the god-level elixir, and was promoted to the star god, many souls who were nourished by the glow of the elixir were the disciples of the medicine master pagoda also broke through their original levels and made breakthroughs. In particular, some geniuses who were originally low-level were even promoted to several levels in an instant. The biggest gain among them was a genius who had just been found on the mainland. At the age of 20, he was already a 7th-level emperor. The spiritual master has now made breakthroughs one after another and has become a 9th-level spiritual master. In these 6 moments, because of Jason's promotion, breakthrough, and understanding, the strength of the entire elixir master tower has made a substantial leap. Wow! At this time, a golden figure suddenly appeared in the sky outside the spiritual medicine master's tower. Is this where the elixir tower is? The outer protective formations and secret realms still exist. It seems that Adcock and the others have all failed. Sergeant Sun stared at the empty space in front of him, his eyes filled with laughter. A hint of coldness bloomed. Forget it, let me completely destroy it today, and lure brought out of the spiritual beast mountain range. A ferocious smile quietly floated on the corner of Sergeant Sun's mouth, terrifying and cold. Destroy it. Staring at the restriction in the void in front of him, Sergeant Sun's mouth was indifferent and he waved his big hand directly. Boom. As if the end of the world is coming, the entire sky directly collapses. The overwhelming energy of destruction condenses between the sky and the earth, and finally turns into a golden palm. It is like the nine heavens God King reached out his divine hand from the clouds and slapped it heavily. Hit in the void. Boom. Wherever the golden giant palm passed, ripples appeared in the void. In the originally empty sky, a transparent cover appeared, shaking constantly, and the terrifying energy dissipated, covering the entire sky. They were all torn to pieces. The transparent cover formed by the restriction was constantly shaking and deforming under this force, and ripples continued to explode on it, but it was still unable to break the restriction. Huh? Sergeant Sun couldn't help but be startled, and then snorted coldly, Huh, I didn't expect that the restriction of this elixir tower is not weak and has such power. An indifferent voice came from Sergeant Sun's mouth. The next moment, an endless rainbow of expressions was released from his body, and energy like a volcanic eruption was violently released from his body. Boom. The sound of the sky vibrated with unparalleled power. An energy several times more powerful than before suddenly burst out from Sergeant Sun's body. The golden giant palm formed directly in the void, pushing forward in a mighty manner. Endless divine brilliance bloomed in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, and the breathtaking chi machine covered the eternal blue sky. Bang! It was like a mountain colliding or a planet erupting. Sanskrit sounds were singing loudly on the golden palm, and the entire elixir master tower seemed to tremble under the blow. Bang, bang, bang! The transparent cover outside the elixir master's tower kept shaking and exploding, as if it might explode at any time. However, to Sergeant Sun's surprise, this transparent restriction still persisted firmly. What? Sergeant Sun frowned deeply. Sergeant Sun felt that he could be forgiven for not being able to break through the initial blow, because after all, he was careless and just struck casually, but the previous blow actually concentrated at least 1/3 of his strength. But he still failed to break through the restrictions of the spiritual medicine master tower, which made Sergeant Sun slightly shocked. What Sergeant Sun didn't know was that if it was the restriction on the alchemist tower at the beginning, with the strength of his moonlight god, it would have been broken with the first blow. However, because of the battle 10 years ago, Jason was in retreat. Previously, he used his knowledge and formations to repair and supplement the restrictions on the spiritual medicine master tower. Back then, Jason had reached the pinnacle of the 4th grade formation in terms of formations, and was almost ready to enter the realm of the 5th grade formation. The 5th grade formation itself had the same combat power as the Moonlight God, and Ruosa Jean Tezen's attempt to break through this restriction simply by attacking casually is tantamount to a fool's dream. Whoosh! 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 As Sergeant Sun frowned, a large number of figures suddenly appeared in the confinement of the Elixir Master Tower, covered by a transparent cover. It was Sergeant Hu Bispham and others were alarmed by Sen's attack. The previous master of Bispham Tower and others had benefited a lot from the chi of the great Tao rules brought by Jason's promotion to the god of medicine. They were deeply comprehended, but they were suddenly shocked by the huge roar. Only then did they were driven out one after another. Sergeant Sun. Seeing the golden figure outside the transparent cover, Adcock and others who were driven out with the master of Bispham Tower couldn't help but uttered in shock. What, he is the strongest man who attacked Stern Continent back then, the star god Sergeant Sun? Bispham and others also had shocked looks on their faces. In the news brought by Jason, he only told Bispham and the others that all the strong men from the god realm had fallen. This time the crisis from the god realm has been resolved, which also made the 4 Bispham people were completely relieved, but they didn't expect that the strongest Sergeant's son was still alive. Adcock, Banyan, Bruno, what are you outside the transparent spiritual shield? Sergeant's son looked coldly at Adcock and others. They are also the candidates for the Celestial Realm's attack on Stern Continent. Sergeant's son naturally knew Adcock and others, and when he saw that they were staying with Bispham and the others, he immediately showed an angry look on his face. I can't forgive you for betraying His Majesty, the Dark God King. Damn it, you all deserve to die. Sergeant's son shouted, a sharp cold light flashing in his eyes. Go to hell. A roar like thunder suddenly exploded in the sky. At this moment, a golden long sword suddenly appeared in Sergeant's son's hand. On this golden long sword, golden light flowed, a series of sharp and unusual runes circulated and flickered around, and even more dazzling brilliance shot out from it. Break it! Sergeant's son shouted loudly, stabbing out the sword in his hand. Phew! The void cracked open like paper, and a huge space crack was revealed under the slash of the long sword. A golden rainbow of world-destroying power, like a meteor, struck down on the transparent light shield. Rumble! The deafening roar resounded throughout the world. Under Sergeant's son's attack, the secret realm where the Elixir Master's tower was located immediately began to shake continuously, and ripples continued to appear on the transparent light shield. There are even more cracks appearing, and it seems that they may break at any time. This power under the light shield, the expressions of the Master of Bispham Tower and others changed. They could clearly feel the power of Sergeant's son. With their strength, it would be difficult for them to defeat the other party. The hands held on for a moment. Master Bispham Tower, what should we do now? Should we call Jason? Elder McGrady said anxiously. Not only him, but the other people around him also looked at Bispham anxiously. In my heart, the only one who can solve this crisis now is probably Jason. No, the Master is now at the critical moment of promotion to the Star God. You must not be disturbed. Before the Master of Bispham Tower could speak, the 3 Adcocks hurriedly spoke out. The promotion from a high spiritual god to a star god may seem like just one level promotion, but in fact, the transformation of the spiritual master in the whole process is extremely huge. It is one of the most important moments for a spiritual master to advance. It must not be being disturbed. This then we, after hearing Adcock's words, Bispham and others showed a look of determination on their faces. Cock-a-boom. However, at this moment, the restriction where the Elixir Master's tower was located finally couldn't bear it anymore, and the violently shaking light shield exploded with a huge roar. Death. Sergeant's son smiled coldly and slapped Bispham and the others down with one palm. Fight. By time for Lord Jason. The golden palm like a mountain pressed down, suppressing everything in the world. Bispham and others looked at each other, said boldly, and immediately rose into the sky regardless of everything, greeted him fiercely. The battle starts in an instant.